professionals. I'd like to talk about Eric. He's going to be our speaker today. Eric began his career in the mortgage industry in 2000 as a loan officer for Quicken Loans, leaving after 4 years as an executive mortgage banker. After that, he spent a year as a loan officer in the wholesale channel before moving to City Mortgage Retail, lending for approximately 2 years. Eric left the mortgage industry in approximately 2008 to work in the pharmaceutical sales industry, which provided world-class sales training and experience working in B2B, which is tremendous. In 2012, he returned to the mortgage industry and joined United Wholesale Mortgage and advanced to a team leader role, then an assistant vice president role within 3 years. Since 2019, Eric has been the VP of sales and helps lead a sales team of over 700 inside account executives. What a tremendous accomplishment. That's terrific. And as they work to keep UWM the #1 wholesale lender and the #2 overall mortgage lender in the nation. Eric has 2 children who he spends most of his free time with, and they enjoy tennis and eating in restaurants. One question: who is your favorite tennis player?
Andre Agassi, a little old school there.
I was going to say Bjorn Borg, but okay, cool. I'd love for them to play one day together. Well, Eric, thank you so much. We'll turn it over to you. We appreciate your time today.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. FAMP has been a great partner for UWM as well. We really appreciate you taking the time. And what I'm going to talk about a little today are some of the newest things we've rolled out. One great thing that we're very proud of is, as of the third quarter of 2022, we've officially taken over the #1 spot in overall lending for just the third quarter. So 8 years in wholesale, #1 overall lender right now in the third quarter, and hoping to repeat it. What we're going to talk about today are some of the newer things we've rolled out that our partners have taken full advantage of, and hopefully save you some time and money, help you go out there and earn more deals, earn more referrals, and take care of your borrowers. We're going to start off the first one. UClose 3.0. So if you've ever worked with us before, one of the ways we've really tried to revolutionize the closing process was to put it back in, or not back, but put it in the hands of you, the mortgage professional, instead of relying on a title company, let's say, to get your package out of a queue, and you rely on basically scheduling a date and time. UClose 3.0 is our newest iteration of you closing a loan. So you're saving a lot of time. You can get your clear to close, and you can draw your closing docs right away. With UClose, it gives you the ability to balance the CD with your title company or on your own, generate a completely final closing package within minutes, literally, and you can even order the wire, which is wonderful. So let's just say you get a CTC by lunch. If you still want to close that day, you can get everything drawn, finalize fees, order the wire, and you can actually sign and fund that same day. With UClose 3.0, it's been more of an update to our previous versions, UClose 2.0. With 3.0, basically, you no longer need a closer to balance the fees. So, it puts a little bit more of the onus on you or your closers, or if you're a loan officer or your processor. But again, you're not waiting on people to go and balance these simple things in order for you to take care of your clients with the closing. We've made it much easier. When you get on this platform on our website, you go through UClose, there's click-throughs that guide you through the whole process step by step. If you want to update your payoffs, we have a new calculator in there that lets you update it for a per diem. You can change the last minute vesting, the vesting things, very last minute if somebody wants to be changed or added to title. Very simple things to do so you can keep your closing on track. I think one of the most painful things is getting all the way to the finish line and then having to make 1 or 2 changes and then having to explain to everybody, we got to reschedule for tomorrow. With UClose 3.0, you have the control to make these changes quickly and still keep your closing on track for the same day. And then one of the other great enhancements we have as we move further into the future, not only can you schedule your typical in-person closing that we're all used to, but we now offer a lot more options for virtual closing, meaning it truly can be signed remotely from your borrowers anywhere. If they want to be in a camper, if they want to be at home at night, at midnight, everything can be virtually signed. They just need a Wi-Fi connection. We get them signed up with a notary. They can do it out of their home. And then the hybrid option, which is a little bit of both. We can send some of the easier documents up front so they can, review and e-sign a lot of the basic things, but anything that needs a notarized closing agent, they'll be signing those in person, which will, again, really speed up the process and have them sitting there for much less time and kind of make it a lot easier for you, maybe give you a little bit of a competitive advantage when you're explaining to them how you're going to make sure the end process for closing goes very smoothly. And I think, I used to originate loans, the ability to get a clear to close and still close and fund the same day is really, really invaluable, especially on purchases as we move towards a more of a purchase market. And I know realtors always love the fact that they can show up, Everybody can sign docs and then you get checks right away. There's no waiting for funding authorizations or anything with UClose 3.0. Another great item that we have is SafeCheck. Now, we just rolled this out in October, and this was in response to many consumers, pretty much complaining that whenever they applied for a mortgage and had their credit pulled, they're getting dozens and dozens of phone calls right away from trigger leads. And so this is just part of the business when the credit bureaus sell these leads off. I know they do it in the name of the consumer. One way we try to protect you, our partners, from all of these issues is allowing a soft pool. So we've come up with SafeCheck, which is a $10 soft pool. Excuse me, I'm just trying to get to the next slide. Okay, so it's a $10 soft pool through one bureau, and rather than full tri-merge, which sets off all these phone calls, for $10 you can do a soft check. You can run it through our AUS system, so you're running it through LP and DU at the same time. You can determine whether or not you get an appraisal waiver. You can make sure you get an approval. If it's a loan, 100% will get approved, and this allows you to get a few days of a head start. Go ahead and get that soft pool, get an idea of your credit score, and then this gives you a couple of days lead time to quote your borrower and take care of things before they get that bombardment of phone calls. We also have an amazing upfront system called Bolt, which is like basically artificial intelligence. When you upload your income documentations, in 15 minutes, you do this on our platform. You don't need an underwriter, and it's basically a loan, a pre-approval, but it's been underwritten, and it's a much stronger offer, which again, you're able to do with just SafeCheck, one credit bureau, avoid all those calls, get your borrowers a pre-approval letter, and this is available on all conventional loans. So again, this is a great way for you to protect your borrowers from all those calls and protect yourself as well. The other thing our clients love to do is they'll pull SafeCheck up front, and then they'll send that opt-out, the online link that consumers can fill out to opt out of all those trigger leads. And if that can take a few days or weeks to go through, with SafeCheck, you're giving yourself, again, a few days head start before your borrower starts getting all those competing offers on trigger leads. Another thing we just rolled out, and this was in October of this year, we did this at AIM out in Las Vegas. This is another way we're trying to revolutionize the industry a bit, title review and closing. And what this essentially does with UWM, we are going to basically handle the lender's title policy ourselves. So what we did is we hired about 35 in-house attorneys that are now UWM team members, and they're going to insure titles. So it's much cheaper and it's faster because now we don't need your title company to offer lenders policies. It's also using Relco, which is one of our partners, gets your title docs ready a little bit quicker. And you'll see in Section C, a lot of those junk fees that tend to add up in states, especially Florida, doc prep, all these little nickel and dime fees that can really make your deal a little bit harder to sell. They're all gone with a flat fee of $350 through Relco. Again, we're going to review all of your title and closing docs. We're going to make sure title is clear. They're still going to need an owner's policy, but now the lender's policy, you're going to basically not have that expense at all. The cost will be an LLPA on the loan. So you can see on the last bullet point, we're going to save your borrower money on the lender's policy and on the overall closing fees. But for 20 bips, it'll be a charge on that off the loan amount for refinances. And to take advantage for track on a purchase, it's a 30 bip charge. So dollar for dollar in Florida, you are going to save them a bit of money. And I think, as we all know, even saving a few $100s will make your deal more competitive, make it a little bit easier for that borrower to get to the closing table with their funds. And hey, if they save $300 or $500 at the table, much better deal for them. And now they got a little bit more play money to go ahead and, furnish the new house, make whatever repairs, whatever they like to do when you move into a new home. So track's been a great advantage. I couldn't cover all the information on here. Some of the things you need to know, it's now available in 35 states, including Florida. If you do business in multiple states, here's a quick list of all the other states where it is currently available. It probably won't be ever eligible in Iowa, but for all the remaining states, if you do business there, you're going to have a much more competitive, faster option for Section C fees by using track and eliminating that cost for a lender's title policy. So again, if we can pick up a couple inches up front on the loan estimates that you're showing borrowers, helps make a little bit more of a deal. Maybe they can use that money to buy the rate down, but help you winning more loans because your fee sheet's going to look more competitive. And then here's the biggest product that we've rolled out. Now, this isn't new to UWM, but we really don't see it too much in the wholesale channel. And I think lenders are trying to pick this up more in retail, but it's the temporary rate buy down. And this has been really timely because as interest rates have moved up faster than they've ever done in history, and as we've seen housing prices escalate so much, it took a lot of buyers out of the market. And so with a temporary rate buy down, what we do is through seller concessions, or if it's a builder concessions, we can often get those built into the loan, especially nowadays. As homes sit on the market a little bit longer, you might have sellers a little more willing to work and negotiate with the buyers. And so with a temporary rate buy down, you pay through seller concessions. And what happens is the borrower is going to get a lower interest rate for the first few years of the loan. And I'll show you some examples in a little bit. So the nice thing is we're still going to qualify them at the note rate to make sure that they qualify for the loan overall. And we're going to show them savings in the first few years of the loan. If you look at the fourth bullet point, how it works is the seller concessions will go into an escrow account held by the lender, and the borrower is going to make a little bit of a lower monthly payment for the first few years. The escrow account is going to make the rest of the payment for them because the servicer still wants the full monthly payment. And it's a win-win because the borrower enjoys a lower monthly payment for the first few years. But let's just say the rates come down again before the period passes. Any money still in that escrow account goes right back to the borrower towards the payoff of their loan. So again, seller concessions artificially buys down the rate for the first few years. And if the borrower refinances, they get that money that's in the escrow account back. So I'm going to show you some examples to kind of tie it together a little bit for you. And I'd always encourage everyone, if you have any questions or details we can't cover today, I know it's complex stuff in some cases, please reach out to your UWM account executive, call our 800 number. Somebody would be more than happy to walk you through the nuances of this product because it is very timely right now. We currently have these different buy down options, starting with a 3-2-1, which means for the first 3 years, they have a lower temporarily rate. The second option, which we're going to cover in more detail, is the 2-1 buy down. So for 2 years, they have a lower rate. There's a 1-1 buy down. And then there's a 1-0 buy down, which is 1 year of a lower rate. So we're going to focus on what's currently our more popular option right now, which is the 2-1 buy down. So here's an example of how it would work. Let's just say for simplicity's sake, the current par rate that you might sell a borrower on a 30-year fixed loan would be 7%. So you're selling 7%. That's your rate, for you to cover compensation. On a 2-1 buy down for the first year, then the note rate would be 2% lower that they're paying on. So 2% lower than 7% is 5%. So the first year they pay on 5%. The second full year, they pay 1% lower than the note rate. So now the year 2, they pay at a 6%. And again, the escrow account that they've established will pay the difference to the servicer. And then in this example, on a 2-1 buy down, once you get to year 3 and beyond, they're just back up to their typical rate at 7%. So it's a temporary buy down, very simple. And you can see the numbers correlate to the reduction in the interest rate that they're paying on, so 2% and 1%. Here's a calculator that we've come up with, which is available on our website to kind of, again, make it a little easier for you to understand. Go in there and explain to your realtors how this is a good option. Go in there and talk to builders with this calculator. And then most importantly, show your borrowers the benefit of a buy down. So I'll try to make this very simple. On a $400,000 first mortgage amount, it's a $500,000 purchase. Let's go back to our example of a 7% note rate. Okay. Principal and interest, $400,000 mortgage, 7% is $2,661. Now let's go down to the buy down chart. We already talked about for year 1 and for year 2, they're going to 5% and 6%. If you want to calculate the principal and interest payments for year 1 and year 2, there they are. Year 1, they're paying $2,147. Year 2, they pay $2,398. What is that in monthly savings? Well, for 12 months in the first year, they're saving $513.92 a month. For year 2, since the rate goes up slightly, they're only saving $263 a month for the year 2. Add that all together. What is that? So a dollar for dollar, if you take year 1 and year 2, the borrowers are saving on their minimum monthly payments $9,323. Going back to the seller concessions paying for that, we'd have to put seller concessions on the loan, and $9,300 and $2,300 would automatically come out of the seller concessions, go into the escrow account, and that's how it's paid for. So again, the borrower is basically financing a temporary rate buy down, or some people mark it as the seller is paying for your buy down, which is really a nice option for sellers to compete in this market. Maybe they don't reduce their listing price, which the realtors happen to like. But what they're going to do is they're going to keep their price the same, but say, well, now I'm going to give you $9,000, $10,000, 3%, whatever in seller concessions that you can use towards fees. Or let me show you how, if you buy my home, I can set you up to have a lower monthly payment, which again is very important in this market, because a lot of borrowers, maybe you pre-qualified them in, last year or in January when rates were still, what were they, in like the 3s or 4s. As they saw rates go up, they might decide, I can't afford $700 more a month in my monthly payment, which is pretty much what rates have done. So I know they're fluctuating, but the nice thing is, for any of those borrowers that really would want to get into a house, but keep it very affordable for the first few years, there's your calculator. It's been very popular, been a great way to separate yourself from other competitors. And for a lot of loan officers out there trying to build relationships right now, it's just a great conversation starter. Go out there, talk to realtors, find your realtors and ask them if they're familiar with the buy down option, and tell them you have something that will help their borrowers or their sellers find more business in this higher market. Where is it available? Well, right now it's currently it's a conventional and FHA VA purchases, not currently on USDA or jumbo. Great news, it's for primary and second homes. Second homes is still a pretty good size market even after all those LLPAs from earlier this year. And for FHA and VA, it's obviously just for primary homes. But again, we've seen such a great response from consumers and realtors alike in terms of offering these buy downs. Very simple to explain, and hopefully a great way for you all to take care of some borrowers, get them off the sidelines, because we don't know what rates are going to do in the future. And again, the last thing I'll say is with this buy down, sometimes it's protection against them refinancing quickly, because if they have a buy down and rates drop to 5.5% next year, well, if their rates already bought down to 4.5 or 5, they might not be so willing to jump on a refinance. So again, it keeps that business in your name longer until you're ready to refinance them yourselves and rates go down a little bit more, or when the buy down period is over. So that is the the tools that I give you. Some of the newest things our top producers are using. I really hope you find them valuable. And again, thanks so much for your time today.
Boy, that was a great presentation. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions, if you could please put them in the chat box, I'd appreciate it. While I have you on, Eric, thank you, Eric Mojica, who is the Vice President of Sales for United Wholesale Mortgage. So thank you so much. A few things I just want to recap. It's really great. I think it's wonderful that you no longer need to balance your CD or closing with your closer. That's a tremendous savings in time. What a huge plus and a great niche for you. Simultaneously, that not waiting for funding instructions or having to get your funding number, that's huge. How many realtors, for many of you out there, are sitting at closing waiting for the 40-45 minutes? Everybody wants to get their check, go to their new home. So that's a huge plus. That's a huge thing you do. That's great. And I love your Bolt program. That's a huge value as well too. So thank you for that. You're definitely right about that. Title fees can be expensive in the state of Florida. So your track system works very well. Gives your partner, your originator, the edge working through United Wholesale to be able to take advantage of that, be more competitive in their fees. And lastly, great presentation on the temporary buy down. All good stuff. So let me see if there's any questions out there with the group. There's a question from Tina. So I wasn't aware that this also works for FHA and VA loans because their rates are typically lower anyway, right? I'm assuming you're referring to the 2-1 buy down.
Absolutely. It is available on these, just those two products for now. And it is pretty useful, especially, even in this market, we can buy them down. And that's one of the great advertising pieces. Like, let's just say even on the 3-2-1 buy down, if, VA rates are at 6.5, you can basically market, your rate is 3.5 for your first year, which is really powerful when people were kind of, when they initially looked for that pre-approval, they were looking at rates down in the 3s and 4s.
And you're right, Eric. Another great point is, people being concerned about their early payoffs in terms of refinances. It's a great point you bring up that if your rate is much lower, it does give the consumer an opportunity at that lower rate to wait until rates really get to the right place. People may be a little, trigger happy that if rates got down a little bit, they're going to start to get bombarded for refis. It does give them the ability to take a bit of a reprieve and a breath because they already have a lower rate. That's a great feature as well, too. Thank you for mentioning that. Somebody is asking about temporary buy downs on non-QM loans.
Unfortunately, they're not available on anything non-QM.
Thank you for that. And I think that pretty much concludes it. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate many of you for joining today. Again, we appreciate your membership and support here at the FAMP. And thank you, United Wholesale Mortgage, for being such a great partner and doing this great presentation for us.